Howie Mandel here. You know that nagging ache that just won't quit? The one that makes you feel about 100 years older than you actually are? Epoch Lasers is here to help. With the Epoch Helios 980, you can apply targeted light to areas like your lower back, your knee, or your shoulder. It's designed to help temporarily relieve minor muscle aches and joint stiffness. The device uses near-infrared light energy, which is engineered to be absorbed by tissue. Just turn it on, relax, and let the light get to work. Act now and use code HMFREE15 for 15% off and free shipping at epoclasers.com.
Do you feel that deep, persistent pain within you? It's more than discomfort. It's a serious need for relief. Your body is signaling for help. Let's listen. Discover how our bodies naturally fight pain using tiny powerhouses called mitochondria. Mitochondria, molecular motors within our cells, convert nutrients and oxygen into ATP, energizing our cells' repair functions. This ATP not only fuels cellular functions, but is crucial for the regeneration and repair of tissue. Our laser technology enhances this natural process by stimulating photobiomodulation, encouraging mitochondria to produce more ATP. With each application, we boost your body's ability to heal itself, accelerating recovery, reducing pain, and enhancing well-being. Experience healing supported by advanced laser technology, without invasive procedures or side effects. Embrace a new way of living where your body's natural healing is enhanced by our innovation. Learn more about our groundbreaking approach at www.epoclasers.com. Begin your journey with us today.
¿Siente ese dolor profundo y persistente dentro de usted? Es algo más que malestar. Es una grave necesidad de alivio. Su cuerpo está pidiendo ayuda. Escuchémoslo. Descubra cómo nuestros cuerpos combaten naturalmente el dolor utilizando pequeñas centrales eléctricas llamadas mitocondrias. Las mitocondrias, motores moleculares dentro de nuestras células, convierten los nutrientes y el oxígeno en ATP, energizando las funciones de reparación de nuestras células. Este ATP no solo alimenta las funciones celulares, sino que es crucial para la reparación y regeneración de los tejidos. Nuestra tecnología láser potencia este proceso natural, estimulando la fotobiomodulación, lo que anima a las mitocondrias a producir más ATP. Con cada aplicación, potenciamos la capacidad de su cuerpo para curarse por sí mismo, acelerando la recuperación, reduciendo el dolor y mejorando el bienestar. Experimente la curación gracias a la avanzada tecnología láser, sin procedimientos invasivos ni efectos secundarios. Adopte una nueva forma de vida en la que la curación natural de su cuerpo se ve reforzada por nuestra innovación. Obtenga más información sobre nuestro enfoque innovador en www.epoclasers.com. Comience su viaje con nosotros hoy.
Good afternoon, everyone. Andy Jacob here with the .com Magazine Entrepreneur Spotlight Series. I have a fascinating show today. I've been waiting to get Mr. Jim Onick on the phone and on the show for about a month. He's so busy. What he's doing is remarkable because he is healing. His system, his program, his technology, his lasers are healing people's pain. It's absolutely unbelievable. He is the founder and CEO of Epoch Lasers. And Epoch Lasers is really an amazing company. You can find them on the website. You can find them on Amazon. And I became very interested in lasers to help heal pain when I found out so many pro athletes are using lasers inside the training room. So Jim, I'm so excited to have you on the show today. Thanks so much for coming on the Entrepreneur Spotlight Series.
Thank you very much for having me today as a guest. I appreciate it.
Now, Jim, let's talk about your background first, because it's a remarkable background. And you told me prior to the show that that's mitochondria. Let's talk about that a little bit, because that's so exciting. Mitochondria, I understand, is really what makes the world go round.
That's right. It's the powerhouse cell. So think of it as a molecular battery that's providing and energizing cells. And so when you breathe in the air, you get oxygen. When you eat food, you get energy. And the mitochondria takes that energy in. And from that, it produces something called adenosine triphosphate, or ATP. And that is a really significant component that is prevalent in all living beings on Earth. And it helps people heal and heal faster when you accelerate that. And so when you add this wavelength of light in our products, it produces more ATP. It's another source to energize the mitochondria, because there's a receiver in the mitochondria that receives the light, and it produces more energy, it produces more ATP. Thus, what we're doing is we're accelerating the body's own healing mechanism.
I love it. And for those people watching, there will be a test at the end of the show. So make sure you're focused in on what Jim's saying. Now, let's get to the Epoch lasers, because it's incredible. You're able to heal pain with laser light. These are therapeutic lasers for pain management. Let's pull the lens back to 30,000 feet, Jim, and tell everybody about the Epoch lasers.
Sure. Well, you mentioned 30,000 feet, so I'll just comment very quickly that the wavelength of light we use to help heal is not prevalent below 30,000 feet. So it's not coming through our atmosphere, yet our body has this receiver for it, which is a fascinating in of itself of why that is. So what we do is we use a light source that's very specific, it's 980 nanometers of light. It's an infrared light. It's invisible to the eye. And when you place it on the body, whether in the form of the laser or the little device for home called the Helios, that light passes through the different layers of tissue and stimulates the cells, as we talked about. It stimulates the mitochondria. And so the wavelength is picked specifically because it doesn't react differently to different skin colors. And so it passes through the same regardless of the skin color of the person. There's no absorption in the melanin. Now, besides that light activation, just the absorption itself of the laser, that helps create a gentle warmth that acts as a vasodilator and then improves the blood flow into the area that you're treating. So we're actually treating the area where there is the pain, instead of trying to take something in our bodies that has to go travel around the whole body and block the pain. We're actually trying to heal the pain at the site where it's located.
That's amazing, Jim. Now, a few years ago, I went to the chiropractor. He used some type of laser for my pain, and I tell you, it really was remarkable. It really helped me. And I think what we're talking about is through this infrahelios laser that you have, and from the Epoch 980, you're making this type of pain relief available to the general public. People can just buy it and use the system at home. Is that the idea?
That's the idea. We have this saying, a healing light in every home. There is no reason why people can't take control of their own pain management and have something that is in their home that they can apply to their bodies, and they can help heal their pain, whether it be in their hands or their feet or their knees or their shoulders. It gives them the responsibility. Instead of going off every time to say, gosh, my hand or my wrist hurts, they can just pick something off the shelf that's easy to use and pick it up and treat their pain locally with their device at their decision, at their timing, when they're relaxing.
That's amazing. That's amazing, Jim. Now, I know physicians have these types of laser light systems in their office. Therapists have them in their offices. A lot of athletic trainers are using them, like I mentioned at the top of the show, to help not only world-class athletes, but college athletes, and I'm sure they're helping high school athletes as well. So when we talk about healing at the cellular level, what people are going to be wondering, and I thought maybe this would be an interesting point to get into, is that when we've done our research, there's a lot of research online and a lot of very, very important research done about lasers for pain. So maybe you could just touch on that just a little bit here at the beginning of the show.
Sure. The idea of using lasers to mitigate pain started back really in the 70s. And there was something developed called a cold laser. And they were used and maybe for 5, 6, 7 years. And they weren't really effective in a lot of cases because they were very low in power. They had a very small spot size, and the treatment times took very, very long. So one of the problems we solved is to say, hey, how can we get enough energy into the body to actually make the treatment times a lot quicker and be a lot more effective? And so there's literally thousands of studies, all different wavelengths and all different power levels. I did something called a meta-analysis. I looked at all of these studies and I said, why does this work? Why doesn't this work? And from that, I came up with the conclusion that they're not putting enough power into the body to penetrate deep enough to activate the cells, that cellular mechanism. And so I started researching at the cellular level to say, how much light does it take to activate these cells? And once you know that, you can then know the absorption between each layer of tissue, and you know how it diminishes as it passes through the body. So you can start with the right amount of power. And so that's starting at the cell level and working your way up to the actual device of what it needs to be is really what I did. And it makes for a much more effective treatment and a much shorter treatment. 10 minutes is a typical treatment with the laser. For the home product, typically 30 minutes. So very quick.
Wow, that's incredible, Jim. And you have so many people with rave reviews about what's happening using the infra Helios laser and the Epoch 980. So many people are getting relief and therapy, and it's really working for pain management. So Jim, what types of people mostly buy your Epoch laser? What pain points do they have, if you will, that they need the laser in the most cases? Or is it generally speaking for all parts of the body? Who's your most specific customer? Where is their pain?
So for the home device, the infra Helios, you have people that have foot pain, maybe through their diabetes. Their feet get swollen, they get painful, they hurt. Hand and wrist pain. I really conceived the idea of the home device for hands was the original thought because I knew several pianists and they all said, gosh, my hands constantly ache all the time. It's hard to play. And I thought, well, how can I take this bigger laser and reduce it in size and put it into something you can set your hand on to help the pianist? And of course, from there, the idea took off and said, well, you can treat the hands, you can treat the feet. So typically, hands and feet are typical. Lower back, definitely another one. And then I have some people using knees and shoulders. But I'd say feet, hands, lower back, they're the primary areas of pain that people want to try to help or need help with.
Wow. So Jim, you mentioned the home device. So you've got a couple different devices. Maybe we could talk about that because one is for usage at home. You can buy it on Amazon, on your website, various places. There's a lot of rave reviews about that. But I think you also have another laser that's more used in perhaps, let's say, physician and therapists and athletic trainers' offices. Is that the way it works?
Yes, there's a larger unit, the Epoch 980. It's a larger unit meant for a clinic or for a therapist that's going to go out and have the business model of treating other people. And that's used to more for somebody that's treating and seeing patients. And those people maybe have more severe pain, more chronic pain conditions, and they need the extra medical care. And so that's a professional unit. And, we've sold those, of course, around the world as well. We have a unit down in Ecuador at a clinic that we helped open up there to treat the indigenous people. We have them in South Korea. We have them up in Canada. We have them across the United States. So the professional places, professional trainers, professional chiropractors and doctors, this is something they would use the Epoch 980 for their office.
That's incredible. So this Epoch 980 is a professional grade unit for the offices. But what you're saying is that everyday people that have pain and need pain management with the help of the healing light can purchase the infra Helios laser, and that sort of uses the same technology, but it's just a different system for someone to buy at their home. Is that the way it works?
That's right. To meet the regulations of optical power, you have to have something that's lower in power to use at home, as opposed to the professional device, which is you wear goggles with the professional device, and so that's not necessary at home. And for the professional device, we certify everybody to use it. And we've had a lot of people say, hey, I want to become a therapist. I want to work with my local chiropractor, my local acupuncturist, my local physician. I want to be the therapist. And so they've invested in the professional machine and become trained as a therapist so that they go into multiple doctors and help them out.
Wow, that's incredible. So you've also have started a whole group of entrepreneurs that are learning the system and believe in the system and are helping so many people with their pain relief. Jim, as we get older, something that happens to a lot of people is arthritis. They get it in their elbows, their hands, their knees, their feet, their back, everywhere, So let's talk about that, because you have a lot of people that are getting nice relief with their arthritis by using the infrahelios laser. Let's talk about that a little bit. Why does that work on arthritis so well?
So, typically with the arthritis, people have less range of motion, and because of that, they move less. If it's arthritis in their knees or their wrists or their fingers, they move them less, which compounds the problem. And so when you use something like the infrahelios on it, the pain starts to go away. They start to exercise their fingers more, and the inflammation gets reduced, and they have better range of motion. They're able to move the joints and the fingers more, and they become more active. And it just helps slow the condition down. Would it cure arthritis? It depends, because there's an underlying cause usually for arthritis. So I can't say that would be curative in that respect. But in terms of the pain and inflammation caused by arthritis, definitely is a big help for sure.
Isn't that interesting? It's different than I think the way, and I'm not a medical doctor, but it's different than the way I think people used to look at it. So as I've gotten older, I have some arthritis in my knees, especially from playing college football. I think it's from being banged on so often. And I find that when I move, it feels better. So what you're saying is that this laser therapy perhaps can make you get a better range of motion, which then the movement is the thing that's really helping. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, this is a really key point. This is what I call the upward spiral of healing. When you have a condition like arthritis and your knees hurt, you slow down. Well, you slow down, you gain weight because you're not active. And that weight puts extra pressure on the joints and then makes them feel worse. And then you slow down even more. You have this downward spiral. When you use the device like the laser, it flips a switch. You say all of a sudden, oh, I can walk a little better. I'm going to go out for a walk outside today. And then you say, oh, I'm walking better. Maybe I can go exercise again. Maybe I can start to eat better. You start to lose weight. You start to feel better. And suddenly you're on this upward spiral of healing. And so not only is your pain getting relieved, but your spirit's being ignited. You're getting your spirit relieved because you're happier, you're more comfortable. You're not clouded by this pain message that you're constantly fighting with.
Jim, that's unbelievable. And as you mentioned, there's thousands and thousands of research articles from all over the world regarding lasers and pain therapy using lasers. And it's really remarkable. From an entrepreneurial standpoint, you get to wake up every single morning and know that you're going to help someone with their pain. So let's talk about that a little bit. Is that what drives you? Is that your why that gets you up in the morning, Jim?
Absolutely. The why for me has always been the first and foremost, helping people's pain be reduced. I've known too many people that have become addicted to serious medications because of their pain conditions, lost their jobs, lost their livelihoods. And that's not something I like to see, especially if it's people that are, close to you. So that is what motivates, I think, not only myself, but my whole team at Epoch Lasers is motivated by getting out there and helping people. And, we just this last weekend, I got this beautiful handwritten letter from a gentleman that was using the Helios at home and explaining how much it has helped him over the past year and how he's been very, very pleased with it. So I look at it, somebody took the time not to type a quick email, but to write a letter out by hand and send it from the post office to come to me. When I see that, I say, well, this is really all worthwhile. And it's just so wonderful that they take the time to respond like that.
Yeah, that's beautiful, Jim. What a great way to start your day, knowing that you're helping people, whether it's with the Helios laser at their home or with the Epoch 980 that's in physician and therapist and athletic trainers' offices, and even the people that you've trained to use that to go into the physician's offices and offer that as a service to those people. And I'll tell you, Jim, when you don't have pain, you're not thinking about it. But
Right.
when you have pain, there's nothing in the world that you wouldn't do to relieve that pain, and to be able to do it in a natural way, in a way that's non-invasive with the Helios laser is really, really a beautiful thing. So, Jim, we're listening to you talk. We know that you're an expert in your laser therapy. You're an expert in the Helios and, of course, the Epoch 980. How did you get started in this? Because people are listening to you, and we started off talking about mitochondria. I mean, you sounded like my biology professor in college. So how did you get started with the laser program?
Well, it's amazing how things that you do in life all come together at some point and gel. So I was trained as an electronic engineer, and my first job, though, was in a hospital laboratory. So really, as a biomedical engineer, there really wasn't that field called that at that time. Not to date myself, but it was a biomedical engineer in a hospital lab. So I learned a lot about the chemistry, obviously, of the body and the functioning of it. And then I did work in the field of surgical devices for ophthalmology. So I was a trained emergency medical technician. So I've had a lot of medical training. And I became interested in these lasers about 20 years ago when somebody showed me a cold laser and they were trying to develop another cold laser. And, they weren't successful in it, but I learned a lot about the technology. And that's when I started to get the idea and say, maybe this wasn't the right approach these people were taking. And I need to look at this as an engineer and as a scientist and say, what do we need to do different? Because I like the idea, I like the concept, but clearly what was out there at the time 20 years ago wasn't getting the job done. So.
Wow. So Jim, would you consider yourself an inventor? How did you put it all together? How did you come up with the Epoch 980? How did all that start?
So it started from this recognition to say low-level lasers, cold lasers, aren't really doing what they claim. They're not really living up to what they're supposed to do. And there must be a better way. So that inquisitiveness as an engineer in me says, this is a problem, and maybe it can be addressed, and maybe I can solve it. So, but then you take a look at it and you say, let's start from scratch. You don't just go drag something down the hall from a lab or a scientific laser. You don't go grab that and say, let me start waving it over people and see if it heals them. It started, going back to the cellular level, remembering the chemistry I learned, 10 or 15 years earlier, and said, how can I apply this knowledge on the clinical side and the patient side of developing medical products to a device that can be used for therapy. So it's just those gelling of all this different life experience that came together.
I love it, Jim. And it came together in a beautiful way. And you're helping so many people with the home version, which is the Helios laser. The medical profession, in my eye, they seem like sometimes they're a little bit behind the eight ball. They're a little bit, behind sort of embracing technology that can be helpful. And let's talk about that a little bit. Are more physicians now embracing the healing light therapy than ever before? How is all that working out?
I think there's a lot more study on it. There's really good societies. For one, the American Society of Laser Medicine and Surgery, which I've belonged to for years. They really have upped their game in terms of the research that they're doing. It's a great organization, and they really encourage that research from around the world. And so there's more of that going on, which is really good. There's more information about it. There's more published studies about it. There's more companies coming out with products that use light, and there's more recognition that there's more going on there than meets the eye. In the traditional medical community, there's still a road to go for acceptance. But you find a lot of the practitioners, especially the chiropractors and some general medical professions, they all have started to really use these devices in their practice and realize how well they're working. And so the word is getting out there, but it does take time, no doubt.
It does take time for adoption, and you have the first movers, and then you have the people that lag behind. And soon there's this swell of everybody using it, and that's probably the way that this is going to happen. And a lot of great therapies have started that way, and now they're just generally used in every physician's office, throughout the world. So, Jim, when we think about entrepreneurship, something that's very interesting is you took this passion for engineering and you learning about things and doing deep dives and finding a problem and trying to solve the problem with a great solution. And you turn this into a business. And you mentioned the people at Epoch Laser. So thank you so much for coming on the show. And I want to turn this conversation for the last few minutes that we have that you set aside for us to talk about entrepreneurship, because you have a wonderful team. You have a very respected team at Epoch Laser. So as an entrepreneur, how important is the team that you've been able to assemble for your success at Epoch Lasers?
I mean, the team has been very, very important here because they each bring a unique skill set. As a manager, I always like to assemble teams where there's a lot of diversity in knowledge and expertise. As opposed to getting 5 people that all know the same thing, or only 5 people that just agree with me. I want some diversity of thought, and so I have a business development person, with an MBA out of Case. I have somebody that's been in the holistic community for most of their career, and they've been very, very helpful in connecting me to that community where they're very welcome to receive a product that uses light to heal. And I've been really blessed to work with a group of engineers that have helped me be able to get production ready for the product. And these are people, this is truly a global team. It covers people in Europe, it covers people in of course, here in the United States, it covers people in Asia, and they've all been very, very helpful. And I also think a very important part of my team are the people that use the product, because I'm very open to taking suggestions. When people have a complaint or they say, "Oh, I don't like this," or "Can you change this?" I take all that. So we always do continuous improvement. But the diversity of thought of the technical and engineering background, the holistic background, the medical background, and the business background, they're all contributing in their own ways to helping to build the company. But the one common element we all share is we want to see people get better. We want to help people. And that's really the main requirement here and that's what we're all focused on.
I love it, Jim. And, we talked to so many successful entrepreneurs on the show, from, startup entrepreneurs that have their Series A round that look like they're, going to the big time, to, Fortune 1000 company, heads of growth strategy, to public companies, to Inc. 5000 companies. And we always hear sort of a similar kind of a vibe where they don't want to surround themselves with yes men or yes women, because they want what you call, and I think you've nailed it in a perfect way, and I love it, I'm going to steal it from you, diversity of thought. And that's what they're looking for, so that they're not always getting the yes, sir, yes, ma'am type of answers. They're getting people that question things, and they're getting people that are asking the right questions, and they're getting people that maybe don't agree all the time. And that's the way you build a great company. So I really am happy that you brought that up, Jim, in a great way. So, Jim, we do get some younger entrepreneurs watching the show. I'm sure some of those younger entrepreneurs also have some aches and pains that they're going to want to use the Epoch 980 as well. But for those younger entrepreneurs, Jim, that are going through a tough time, maybe they're hitting a pothole, maybe they're hitting a roadblock, they've never really figured out how to get around it, how to bust the wall down, how to get to the other side, and they're feeling like, wow, what do I do now? I'm feeling a little frustrated. Maybe you could share some insight as an entrepreneur to other entrepreneurs that are facing these types of challenges, to let them know that it's okay, that they're going to get through it if they just keep on pushing through.
Yeah, good question and good point. Is the very first and foremost, don't give up. Don't give up. I've been through a lot of school of hard knocks and hurdles in the past 20 years. Every corner you turn, there's a new club waiting to hit you on the head. And so, but I never lost sight of my mission. I approached it with passion every day. And I always had the right motive of trying to help people, but mission, passion, execution, and keep those things in mind, and just don't lose sight of your mission. If you really believe in what you're doing, and you believe in what you're developing and your company and what it can do, then follow that, and don't let the turkeys get you down, as we used to say. Don't let people discourage you and talk you out of it. There's always another way to do things. And there are some days where you take the new approaches, and you take a deep breath and you say, oh, how am I going to get through this day or this week or this month? And cash flow is tight, and all of these issues come at you really fast. Don't give up. That's my advice. Don't give up. Don't lose sight of that mission.
I love it, Jim. Don't lose sight of the mission. Don't listen to the dream stealers. You can do it. For those people watching the show who have an ache and a pain, like most of us do, and I definitely have a few aches and pains myself, check out the Helios laser from Epoch Lasers. Check the reviews out. See what people are saying about it. It's really remarkable. If you're a physician or a therapist or an athletic trainer, reach out to Jim and his team and talk about the Epoch 980. It's all over the world right now. There's so many great things that are happening with it in so many different offices throughout the entire world that you really should check it out. It would be a great benefit for your patients and your clients. Jim, I wanted to thank you so much for coming on the show today. I learned more than I ever thought I would learn about mitochondria, that's for sure. But I definitely wanted to learn more about this laser. I'm a big believer in these types of therapies, and that's why the ball is really starting to roll downhill, and so many people are starting to gather great enthusiasm. There's been thousands and thousands and thousands of studies done worldwide about the impact of these lasers. You've been able to take all those studies and incorporate it into your product, the Epoch 980, that's available on Amazon. I might throw that in as a little bit of a plug. But Jim, this has been a great interview. Thank you so much for coming on the .com Magazine Entrepreneur Spotlight Series.
Thank you so much for having me on today. I really appreciate it. Great discussion.